Now that the transmission is pretty much fully assembled, now it's time to concentrate on the engine, and I need to do a little inventory, find everything, get everything organized. I started cleaning up already, but yeah, I got to get things organized. I know one of the first things I need to do is find pieces to my dipstick. I wiped this all down with a lint-free rag, some solvent, so she's nice and clean. I'm gonna put the bearings in now. Got all my bearings, are still in the bag. Got the bearings all installed. Let's put the crankshaft in. Very carefully. Well, that was a little harder than I wanted to drop it. Okay, she's in there. Everything's dry. I did not put the rope seal in because I don't have it. I'm just going to put this in to check my clearances. I was just wiping it down. This came straight from Butler. This is should give me 461 cubic inches. It's a stroker, so it went from 3 3/4 to 4.25. And actually, I do need to spin it, even though it's dry. I'm just going to be real careful here. Everything clears. Nope. I'm hitting right here. I hit. Okay, hold on. Hit anywhere else? All right, so I have a clearance problem. Clearance? I'd have to get a hold of Butler and ask. I think I have to clear this out, but I know it has to be more than just like a 1/16 of an inch, because that would be bad. I have to clear out the block, not this, because this is already balanced. That's a little disappointing that it doesn't clear. Well, that's going to be a lot of grinding. Anywhere else it doesn't clear. You got plenty of clearance down here on the other end. Just not right there. Now, it'll be interesting to see, too, once I get the rod caps on, if I have any problems with clearance there. You're not supposed to. It's supposed to be pretty good, but, you know, all these blocks are a little bit different, and it's not much of an interference. It's like, literally like a 1/16 of an inch, I bet. Barely, yeah. Like 50 thou. So I'm going to have to clear this out. I'm going to have to file this, grind this down, and make some room for it. And then obviously clean the block again. Make sure I get all the grinding waste out of there. But that's what you got to do sometimes. I went from standard to 461. So let me get this back in a safe place, and we'll work on grinding this away. I'm going to take these bearings out of here when I'm doing this. The only place I have to really clear out is this corner right here, like right in there. Not on this side, just this one. Again, all these castings are a little bit different, so let me go ahead and get working on that. I'm going to get this all wiped down real quick, at least on the part that I want to partially assemble. Test fit the crankshaft again. And then if that's good, then I'm taking it all apart, go wash the whole block again, and then come back. All right, let's set the crankshaft in here again and see what we get, see if this still interferes. All right, nice and easy. All There, a little better than last time. Okay. Okay, I think about right there is my closest point. I'm gonna grab some shim stock and see just how close that is. But I think we're far enough away now. Okay, so this is 90 thou. Almost goes in there. I think that's plenty. I think they said 50. I'll look it up again. Here's 88. I think the only reason it's not going is because I'm actually I'm trying to put it in and it won't bend. Keep trying some of the smaller ones here. Let's go down to like 69. Yeah, that'll go all the way. So I think we're good. I'll double check what their specs are on that. I know there's some specifications that they recommend being at least a certain amount away from the block with the counterweights. But I don't see any other spots in here where we're even remotely close. Just this spot right here at this end, this one spot right here was the troublemaker. Keep in mind these were already torqued in here once. When the machine shop did the align home. So all my caps match. I did pay for having that done. Pretty typical thing to have done while you're having the engine done. They cleaned up all the caps. They machined all the surfaces on the caps for me. Well, they machined them, but they cleaned them up. So when they did the align home, everything was right on the money. Oh, I gotta put some. Alright, so I did the plastic gauge, all the bearing journals, they all measure exactly 1.5 thou. So we should be good. I'm trying to get a good view here. There's that one down in there is a little harder to see. And then the main on the end. Let's get some pistons in this old girl today. I was working yesterday on the rings and such. Got that all taken care of. Those are pretty self-explanatory. Just follow your manufacturer's instructions. Be real careful when you open the packages. I almost messed mine up so that you know what order that they go into. If you don't pay real close attention when you take them out of the packages, it can be quite difficult to figure out which way the rings go. Alright, so I got mine all gapped. They were not gapped properly, so they're all gapped to spec. I got them on the pistons. I will tell you, when I got the pistons, I never thought to loosen the caps. So these were tightened from the factory. So when they bored them, so they'd be perfectly centered, and they were actually torqued. Break those loose before you start working on everything else. I had to actually put this in the vise and get these off with the breaker bar. They were on there pretty tight. So just be aware of that. But like I said, I got the rings on here now, and we're ready to. I'm just going to clean these one last time, oil them, and we should be good to go. All right, let's get this piston in there. Pretty sure that's the direction she needs to go, right there. Well, I forgot to hit record. Just got done tapping this one in here. And I'll just pull him down onto the crank now. All right, good enough. Just kidding. There we go. All right, let's see if I can record this before my battery goes dead. Just gonna set this one down here. I remembered to put the bearing on the rod this time. Come on, nice. And there we go. Easy peasy. And again, double check. After you've torqued it, make sure that it's still turns freely. Make sure your rod bolts aren't hitting stuff. I did have to, remember I had to grind the relief on the crank in this corner over in one of this corner down here. So make sure everything cranks or clears. Especially with this particular case, I went with a stroker. So it's very possible that it might not. It is all installed, torqued. I double checked my clearances coming around here and here. You know, you're looking for clearance in the castings because this is a stroker kit. So, the counterweights are bigger, the stroke is longer, but there was plenty of room in here. So it is all done. I've got the crankshaft in and torqued, the rods in and torqued. I made sure that I could get my my dipstick tube in here, even with this deal with the cap on. Mine hooks to the pan, not to the cap. So I am going to be able to put that in later. So I believe the next step is the camshaft. So let's get to it. I've been very bad about recording lately, and I haven't really been doing that much work. Been waiting on some parts. One of them was a separator plate that they used on 69.5 and higher. About halfway through 69, they changed to the 11-bolt water pump. I started looking at this a little bit more. When I went to clean this up, and you can see the line in here. This thing sat only partially full of water for many years, I think in a salvage yard. And there's actually one spot over here, I don't remember exactly where it was, that I'm pretty sure it's going to break through with a rust hole. So I went ahead and ordered a new separator plate from Butler Performance. They have a stainless steel one along with these guys, the pump tubes. So I ordered those. The other ones I had were very rusty, and the end was actually eating away on them. So I already did off camera here. I'm waiting. This is drying. Already did off camera. I went ahead with the gasket on here and tapped this down. Just laid on a bench flat, not on the water pump. Tap this down to get it about 100 thou to 125 thou clearance in here. That gives you a better water flow. You don't have it recirculating. You don't want it to hit, but be sure you do it with the gasket in here because this will give you more spacing. So anyway, I've got that all even now as best I could. This was all painted a while back. I'm working on painting the valley pan. I have my original, and they say this one's supposed to clear. I don't see why the other one wouldn't have cleared, to be quite honest with you. The other one, I thought I got it pretty clean and everything too. But since I already ordered it and it's here, and it is stainless instead of steel, I'm going to go ahead and use it. Giving it a couple of coats of paint today. This is like the third coat. Obviously only painting the top half of this, not painting underneath. And I blocked off the holes so I don't get a bunch of paint inside. That's completely unnecessary, and the engine oil would most certainly break it up and it would end up in your oil. So we don't want that. There we go. All right, so let's get over to back to the block. I'm going to degree the camshaft. I'm going to try my best to show it on camera. If it goes good, I'll show a lot. If it doesn't go good, I'll just say it's done. All right, see you in a bit. So I already had my stop on the top of the cylinder up here. I got 124 and 196. So halfway between those two is 160, I believe. Yeah, 160. So I'm going to bring this back to 160. And we'll set that as my top dead center. Close enough. Honestly, if I get within 5 degrees, I'm going to be happy. Okay, so I'm just going to turn this around. I printed up this card. I'll put a link to the website on there. You can print these up. You type in your cam stuff, and it actually prints out the lines for your cam exactly. It's actually really, really convenient. I just printed it up. You don't have to go and spend all the money on a wheel. Now, obviously, the larger the wheel, the more accurate the numbers. But for what I'm doing here, pretty sure this is going to be just fine. I've got a piece of cardboard on the back. The cardboard's a little smaller than the piece because I actually printed a smaller one previously to this. There we go. Now that card is on there. If it moves now, it'll be because the engine actually turned. Okay. So now I'm going to measure degree my cam. I'm going to go get my cam card. So the plan here is to measure my cam to the specs. I took a picture of the spec sheet. I didn't want to get it all greasy. So I have a 106 degree intake center line. And I just want to make sure that that is correct. To make sure I got my timing set right and everything here. I don't care about the duration or anything like that. I'm sure that's fine. I do have an indicator set up on top. And my indicator set up here as square as I can. I'm on the top of the outside of the lifter. So I'm not going to compress the lifter at all. I doubt that spring would compress it, but I'm not going to take any chances. I have it as square as I can, so it's vertical. We'll see how we do. Let's see if we can get numbers that are even close to what the cam says it is. So either I installed it wrong, or It's either gonna be right or wrong, hopefully. All right, so my hokey little deal here did betray me because it didn't stay put. I was off by 4 degrees, so my 109 is actually 105, give or take, and I need to be at 106. And so I'm pretty happy with that. The main thing was that I wanted to make sure that I didn't install this timing chain completely wrong. So anyhow, I'm confident I'm where I need to be. At least I'm not off by tons. The cam is within the amount of error. I really don't have a lot of adjustment down here. They give me 4 degrees at a time. I'm going to do it a couple more times off camera just to make sure that my numbers are right. And then I'll be back and we'll start putting the rest of this engine together. I took the lifters out from now so I don't accidentally flip it over and forget and drop them on the floor. So I'm going to leave them out until I get my heads on. I can measure for my push rods and then for the final assembly. So I took them out for now, put them back in the container with the lid on it. They'll be good for a while. So I go to put the timing chain cover on and I put a little bit of RTV on the gasket so it's, you know, seal really good around the water ports. And then I realized I don't have any of my bolts painted or cleaned up. So I just wiped them down really quick, got them in here, found some bolts for the top, just kind of hold everything in place. These are actually torqued to spec now. I'll just paint them. I'll paint them on the engine later once I get everything together. I'm sure there's going to be a few things where I missed. It's not quite right. So now let's go ahead and get the fuel pump on here. I'm going to still kept the mechanical fuel pump. Let's go ahead and get him on there. All right, this is pretty straightforward. Really don't need to put any extra sealant or nothing on this. It just gets splash oil on it. So the gasket that came with it should do a plenty good job. Just gonna run these in there. Come on. Oh, they are the wrong size. Those are the wrong size. Sorry, Mr. Fuel Pump people. You gave me the wrong size bolts. Yep. Not much to it. I'll look up what the torque spec is for those. Harder part is going to be later on is the fuel fittings. So the main fuel is here. You can't change that. With this bottom one, this can be rotated. Actually, I think this whole thing can be turned. It's actually a really nice setup so you can determine where your fuel lines go so you can clear your exhaust or anything like that. So I'll torque these down, and then if I need to adjust these later, there's instructions with the pump how to do that so you can move your fuel line wherever you want it. All right, now that I got this on here, you can see there's a little bit of a lip here from the gasket. You want to trim that off so you don't have any problems with your oil pan. See, it's a pretty good lip there. Just gonna pull that off, get rid of that. If you cut from both directions, it'll just come right off. Okay, that one's flat. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. Sorry about that. I already tapped it in there. I thought I was recording. I had this in here, tapped it down in until it was flush. This barely clears this cap, so on yours, if it doesn't clear, if you've got 4-bolt mains or something like that, you may have to put this dipstick tube in before you do the caps. I had checked before to make sure that it fit. It did, just barely. So I was waiting until I could make sure I could mock up the heads and make sure everything was right. And tube's in there now, nice and solid. Mine hooks into my windage tray, the other half. So let's go ahead and get the rest of this bottom end on here. This was a dipstick tube assembly from Butler, along with the installation tool. Probably completely unnecessary, but I had tried to install another off-brand one, It was horrible. I destroyed it. Didn't even bother getting a hold of the company. It's just not even worth the 12 bucks. So went ahead and ordered this. It was a bit more expensive, but it went right in the first time. Solid as can be. All right, just mocking this up real quick. The windage tray was one of the few things that I couldn't paint because obviously it's in the oil on the engine. Your rest of your dipstick tube goes into here, presses into the back of this piece that's in the block, and then mine just goes into the windage tray, and then the windage tray gets bolted down right there. So this is a little bit of a wiggle to get this in here. All right, took a little bit of fiddling around to get this in here. This piece, the end of this wasn't round. I did end up sanding off a little bit of a taper on the end so I could get it in. Giving her a little bit of a love tap here. And she's going in. Now I just got to find my bolts for the windage tray and get this in all the way and we'll be good. Oh yeah, she'll be good. That's not going to go anywhere once that's done. So this holds this in here. Let me see. Can you even see that? I didn't have that high enough. There we go. So you can see this piece now. This part of the tray holds this dipstick tube in, and she's in there pretty solid. Once I bolt this down, that's not going to go anywhere. I'll give her a couple more taps once I find the bolts. Between me forgetting to hit record and my battery going dead, I might not get any footage at all of this. Anyway, I decided to put a little bit of blue thread locker on this, on these bolts. Wouldn't hurt. So I hadn't tightened them yet. I just kind of got them in place. So I knew my dipstick tube was going to stay put. Now that I got everything lined up, put a little thread locker on those. Get them in place. And this is just the blue stuff. This is removable. These I think actually got a little bit tighter. No. Yeah, one of them I know I tightened. I'll just get these real quick and then we'll go on to putting an oil pan on. I am missing the oil pump gasket. I know that's optional if this has been machined, but this has not. I don't want to take any chances of losing oil pressure because of that. So I'm going to order one. It's a whole $1.60. Won't be here till Wednesday. Nobody has them in stock. I'm not sure why it didn't come with the kit. I know most blocks get, machined and whatnot. I just don't trust it. I'd rather have a gasket in here. I don't want to use gasket maker. Again, this is oil. This is the heart of the engine. I don't want to take any chances, so I want to have an actual gasket in here. So I'll wait. I'm kind of done for this week. Thanks for following along, and we'll get the other side of the engine. We'll get the oil pan on and get to the other side of the engine, I guess, in the next episode. Thanks for following along. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. And as always, have a great day.